going on, guys? Today's the day I finally put my entire reputation on the line. What little reputation I have. I assume it's more than most whatnot streamers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bold claim, a bold prediction. And I'm even going to make future content, and we're going to track this prediction of mine. And I'm going to make the prediction. Oh. Hi, kitty. I'm going to make the prediction that Flesh and Blood is going to outperform upcoming Pokemon sets as far as like 2 to 3 year predictions. And what do I mean by that more specifically? I'm going to start with Journey Together, and I'm going to track kind of the movement of it over if you stick with me, we're going to do this over the next 2-3 years. And I'm going to track it specifically with any Flesh and Blood product. We're going to make spreadsheets, all this, don't worry. We're going to get really into this over the next, it's not in this video, upcoming products. This is a welcome to our insane journey where I put everything on the line. Don't try this at home. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to kind of break down my thoughts going forward, what this is all about and what we're going to do. So, let me start by saying, so last year, I would say that if we had to take what I spent on Pokemon and Flesh and Blood, kind of put it together, 90% of it would have been on Pokemon, 10% on Flesh and Blood. Going forward, starting today, I plan on doing 70% Flesh and Blood, 30% Pokemon in 2025. Now, this may change, but at least for the foreseeable next 6 months, that's the plan. And like I said, well, if we need to correct course and whatnot, we will. But right now, that's what I'm committing to is for the next 6 months, 70% Flesh and Blood, 30% Pokemon. What am I targeting? Why am I targeting? What are you doing, you mad lad? It's just, just to get this out of the way too, because, man, I'm telling you, as much, actually, you can still comment this, but I just maybe not reply. If you're like, it's just cardboard, da 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 da. Yes, I get it. I know. I'm sorry you work at Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, wherever. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I truly am sorry. Anyway, so why Flesh and Blood? Why Flesh and Blood? What is Flesh and Blood? If you want my opinion, it is the next most. It may already be. I think it will be the most competitive, have the largest competitive card scene. I think that just the competitive nature, the design of the game itself, the community that's fostered, right? The community for Flesh and Blood is very competitive. And I think that they lean into that, and they're very aware of that. The tournaments are huge. I think that was the number one mistake that Magic made. With Magic, right, again, and we talk about this a lot, you got Pokemon. The prices of Pokemon are completely just based off of just pure demand nonsense. Kids, it's pretty, look at it. No one actually plays the game. Totally fine, love it, and that's why it's the best, because there's no logic or reason behind it. It's just pure, simple FOMO demand, collectability, enjoyment, nostalgia, right? There's no real. Like some of the play, like Earthen Vessel and stuff, right? Like there are cards that are priced the way they are because they're playable. But Magic, it's almost the exact opposite. It's all based on utility. But if your card game's based on almost all utility and kind of respecting the utility, well, what happens when it becomes less competitive and the format kind of turns into this casual thing? They're not really doing tournaments anymore. What happens when that kind of becomes the style of the game? Well, you kind of need to then introduce collectability, like with collector's products, chase cards, serialized cards, stuff like this. You kind of have to add that, because if you're not going to be super competitive, and there's going to be really no market to drive the cards, if it's more of a casual thing now and people are just proxying cards, right? You need some kind of collectability in your collectible card game, right? So I think what Flesh and Blood has done is perfect. It's still the, and I always like kind of screamed about how I don't want Pokemon to do collector boxes, because I think the best thing is having just $100 box that has a collector card in it, right? And that's what I love about Flesh and Blood's Marvels. So, Flesh and Blood, it's got the insane utility, right? The new Hunted set. There's a card in there, maybe if I'm not lazy, I'll put a picture of it on the screen. And that card is purely based off utility. It's like $75. And if you get like the full art one, I think it's like $300. So you have cards based purely on utility, but then you've got these amazing, beautiful cards as well that are extremely collectible, and it's all just in one simple booster box. So, why has Flesh and Blood, why is Monarch a $50 box, right? And we got Dynasty over 100 now. You know, what causes that? What's going on with that? And it's purely because right now, Flesh and Blood is almost purely a singles market, which is totally awesome, right? Like I've stressed this enough, right? And again, you have to do this en masse. You have to do cases, like 5 cases. I think if you do 5 cases minimum, you're spreading the EV out and the volatility or whatever. You should break even at that point. You should be able to, I don't know what the spread out the volatility, even the line, whatever. Get fancy marketing terms in here. But anyway, it's purely based off singles, right? So, again, and Rudy's made this example. You should honestly just go watch Rudy's video. I've been making a few videos about it, and Rudy finally kind of made a video, I think it was yesterday or today, about it, this morning. It's basically, no one was hoarding these boxes. We saw, again, with Kaladesh, when Wizards came out and said, hey, we're not doing Kaladesh, the boxes spiked up to 900, right? But then it was like, oh, people were sitting on a lot of Kaladesh boxes because no one was buying them, right? So when that happened, and then all of a sudden all these Kaladesh boxes hit the market, it was because, well, there was no reason to open them, and there are no actual cards of value inside of them, right? So we saw that happen. Now with Flesh and Blood, it's the opposite. It's where the cards inside have value. No one's been keeping them. They've been opening them. So whenever, kind of how I talked about the volatility of some of these older cards, where there's no demand really, but the supply is so low that the second like a little bit of demand hits, it basically just blows up, because there was such small supply, because there was essentially no demand. So it only takes a little bit of demand to hit some of these products, and you're going to see insane prices. So again, I think about it. Think about this. Someone paid $800, $700 for this box at one point. At one point, Rudy was buying them back from people for $200 a box. They are now $50 a box. They're getting like 55, 60. They're getting close to 60. Do you really think that it's not going to return to at least 200 maybe? The guy who's sitting on a ton of them probably has a cost base average of around 150, 200 at this point, right? So something to think about, right? That, you know, even if this box goes to 200, the price they're at right now, there's just a lot of opportunity. And again, the cards inside actually have value as well, which is crazy. They made mistakes. Flesh and Blood made a lot of mistakes. James, he had the collar popped too high, but they corrected. 2.0 was a major milestone and a turnaround. So, to Go Box, like I said, am committing. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to know what's good, and if you want to see, let me give you a little speech here. So many people talk about, if I could have got in Magic around Alpha Beta, if I knew about that. Oh, if I could have got in on Pokemon, think of this as Flesh and Blood as Pokemon, and this is basically like the early 2000s when like there was like the first kind of lull, and you could get base set booster boxes for $60. Now, obviously, alpha boxes and stuff like that haven't crashed, but you can get these boxes pretty darn cheap. You can still get first edition. I know this isn't unlimited, but you can get first edition Crucible boxes for $300. You know, people talk like, you know, again, it's like, oh, if the market crashed, I'd move in and buy everything. Well, if you want my opinion, this is your opportunity to put your money where your mouth is. This is a product that, in my opinion, Flesh and Blood's not going anywhere. It's an amazing, and even as an evil investor, I think it's one of the most fun TCGs to play. So this is your opportunity. If you really wanted to get, if you would have been that person who you say you would have bought all those you know, cheap boxes when Pokemon crashed in the early 2000s or whatever, well, this is your chance to do it with Flesh and Blood, in my personal opinion. Again, I could be completely wrong. I don't know. We're gonna follow it. I put in what little reputation I have on the line right now. So what? February 6th. We'll make spreadsheets. We'll go over it. Now is the time, guys. Do you want to make the move or not? I don't know. We'll find out, right? Have a good one.